Welcome back to Subliminal Jihad, Year of the Phoenix, Part 4. I'm your co-host, Dimitri.
I'm Khalid.
And today, we're jumping right back into the thick of the action with the Symbionese Liberation Army after, they have pulled off the coup of the decade, the kidnapping of newspaper heiress Patricia Campbell Hearst, right?
Yes.
And I think, when we left off last time, we had gone through, the kidnapping itself, the media storm that ensued with the communiques, and the People in Need food program that was announced as the goodwill, gesture demanded by the SLA from the Hearst family and their capitalist pig empire to hand out $70 of high-quality grocery items to all poor residents of California. And, of course, this was like a little bit of a, more than a little bit of a fiasco, but it did go on for about a month as, the nation waited with bated breath to see what would happen to America's sweetheart. Now, you just heard there from, I think, the first 15 minutes before we came on, one of the communiques from early March, so about a month after Patty Hearst was kidnapped. And I might have played a little bit from it in the audio version of the outro of Part 3, but it's kind of worth repeating because it's one of those often overlooked communique tapes of the SLA. Usually we go, everyone focuses on the first one and then the big one, which is, coming up today, what we're going to talk about, I believe the April 3rd communique. But even after 1 month of under 1 month of captivity, you start to notice a vibe shift in Patty Hearst's communications. Obviously these are done in a situation that is under duress, right? But I think the tone and the tenor and the content starts to shift a little bit, and you can detect, though, I think few people could have really predicted at the time, you could detect a little bit of a shift of mindset going on and how Patty is viewing this situation and who she regards as the real threat to her safety. Obviously, I think at first she's terrified of the SLA, who keep her locked in a closet for, still unclear, but maybe anywhere from 6 to 8 weeks, blindfolded, hands tied most of the time, and kind of sensory deprivation, being harangued by Maoist lectures, on SLA doctrine by the various members. But she starts to have some choice words for her parents, Randolph and Catherine Hearst, and the food program, and I'd say, especially the FBI, and though she won't call them that yet, the pigs, and yeah. She starts to say that she starts to think that she's not afraid of the SLA anymore. She's actually afraid of the FBI and the police, who she believes are going to burst into the safe house one day, guns blazing, and kill everybody, including her, and then, say afterwards that, the SLA did it. Which is funny because apparently, according to her memoir, Sin Q kept telling her, if the pigs bust in here, I'm going to shoot you first.
Right.
But that kind of starts to change a little bit after about a month or so. I mean, he wasn't saying that on the tape, so nobody would have known it at the time. But apparently in his his talks with Patty, certain things start to develop. I think we talked about how Sin Q had, according to Patty, Sin Q had sort of slipped in at one point, look, I'm going to go talk to the Symbionese War Council, which I think was made up, and talk about whether or not to execute you or do whatever. And they're probably going to want to execute you because the Hearsts aren't following through with their with the SLA demands. But there's one little possibility, a slim chance, maybe, that if Sin Q convinces them that actually you could be a class traitor or whatever, you might be allowed to join this combat unit and join the SLA, and then they would let you live. And he just throws that out there and then closes the closet door, so she has plenty of time to ruminate on it. And we had sort of hypothesized that Patty, in a situation like that, even any small sliver of like, if you do this, you'll be treated better. Maybe you'll get out. Maybe you won't be killed, whatever. Like there's a strong human psychological tendency to like grab onto whatever that is and like lean into it. And, she says in the book, she started to realize like her only her best path of survival was in a way to kind of flatter her SLA captors and lean into maybe like agreeing with some of their political philosophies, which they seem so diehard about, right? In their heavy politics. And, that is one theory of how Patty ends up the way she will by the end of today's episode. I think there's still a lot of like ambiguity. It's hard to really like pin down, even with like the trial, even back in the 70s, this case would spark like a very convoluted and complicated, sort of national debate about like brainwashing and legal culpability for people that get sucked into like cults or or otherwise like kind of coerced. And, where does the line of personal responsibility begin? And how easy is it for like a normal privileged like especially somebody so privileged like her to suffer a complete turnaround in their outlook in, a couple months? Like how susceptible are any of us to that? That kind of thing. There'd be all these debates that would pop up later. But also I think maybe in keeping in line with like what we were talking about a little bit last, I was griping about the mislabeling of some of Paul Krasner's realist issues that featured Mae Brussel and how everyone on the internet like labels them February 1974 when it doesn't make any sense based on what she wrote, which is obviously it was in July. I think we solved that case a little bit. But it did make me want to kind of go back and find what was being said in like the Berkeley Underground press, like especially the kind of orgs that we've profiled in the past, right? Like KPFA, Ramparts, Berkeley Barb. And I was able to find a full like digitized archive of every Berkeley Barb issue from 1974. And I have to say there's some juicy stuff in there, some interesting stuff that maybe is not, maybe only briefly referenced in Schreiber's book, and some stuff that I wasn't aware of like at all. I think one thing we were able to clear up last time that we weren't sure about is who spoke out in public to who first. What did Colston Westbrook kind of make a statement to the media, and then it was followed by Sing Q issuing a death warrant for Colston Westbrook? I think we've been able to find out that it was Colston Westbrook who published like an open letter to Sing Q in the Berkeley Barb, and I think also did it like a press conference, of which I've been able to find no record being kept. I don't know if it was just radio or if it was like on TV, but I couldn't find any one of like his early March press conference. But he did publish something in one of the early March issues of the Berkeley Barb that is pretty interesting. It also does appear the kind of like name search on these PDF scans is not very great, but like listed as an author. Listed as an author in a couple of the Berkeley Barb issues of that same month is Dr. Louis Jolyon West, Mr. MK Ultra himself, though I don't think people knew that at the time. But of course, we already mentioned that he is going to become kind of a pivotal player once Patty is arrested, like, a year and a half later. Like, he does come into the case formally.
Part of her memoir with him, yeah.
She talks about him a lot. She was basically kind of forced to spend a lot of time with him and psychological evaluation. He was hired by the defense team. F. Lee Bailey, who's kind of the preferred establishment lawyer of the Hearst family, who I think we're going to see does a lot of like highly suspect like shaping and narrowing and massaging of like the argument to like let Patty out. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So let me see right here if I can find the Berkeley Barb in question. And I mean, first of all, also, maybe this is just like an interesting side point, but you might be wondering what that book was that I was playing for the live stream watchers. There was a book featuring the fabled Naga, the seven-headed cobra of the
Yeah.
SLA.
Well, it's like misdesignated. Like a naga is just a serpent. Remember, like from Blavatsky, like a naga is like kind of a. I don't think they all have 7 heads. They're just kind of like serpent people.
Okay,
Um,
reptoids.
yeah. That's like Narayana, or like which is like yeah, the 7-headed cobra. We talked about it a little bit in past episodes, but yeah,
Word. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, let me see if I can just bring up. I have to say that the first Berkeley Barb issue, there's kind of an interesting like back and forth. I think with their kind of dealing with the SLA story. I think on one hand, they seem very excited, like in the first issue after the Patty Hearst kidnapping.
Crazy, like reading that issue because like looking at it. Yeah, they're like they kind of come off as like a little bit like favorable toward the SLA, or like, it's like, they basically have like a special dedicated like it does like it's great to like look at this to kind of like contextualize like this and like with everything we were talking about with the Berkeley Barb previously, because like it is like you can see how this like the heaviness sort of discourse in the face game we were talking about like kind of feeds to all this stuff with the Sudanese Liberation Army, because like the way they're like they kind of are using it to present themselves as being like really hardcore, like having this serpent on the cover and everything. And
let's blast it here. You can
like
see
running, like the first like 10 pages are like all SLA materials, most of which we read previously.
Yeah, Gesture of Good Faith, SLA tape. They publish all the things, of course, the Declaration of War on America, having a whole transcript of the tape itself. 7 aims, the War Council, new meaning to life and love, the goals of the Sudanese Liberation Army. It's like really kind of like an advertisement for them. Here you do see the 7-headed cobra rendered twice. Here's the 7 principles, the Kawaida principles of it.
Yeah, there's almost as much like SLA stuff in this as there is porn. Like there's almost as much, like they almost gave as much space to the SLA as they did to their pornography ads. Almost.
Yeah, there is kind of a strange juxtaposition. I don't think this article necessarily like is making a connection to the SLA, but it just slips in state set to cut prisoners' brains at Vacaville East. Yikes. There certainly was some stuff like that going on. Will SLA propose prisoner swap? And then, we go a little more down here, Panthers throw a party. Then we get into some other news. But then I found a very curious, sorry, it's taking a second to load. But I found a very curious little page that doesn't have a lot of context. Here we go. This is just page 10, and I like stopped at this and like had to kind of do a double take. But it says at the top, the 7 stages of creation from The Sacred Symbols of Mu by Colonel James Churchward, author of The Lost Continent of Mu and The Children of Mu. And they take a few pages straight out of this book. I looked it up on archive.org. These are actually like scans from the book. Like this is real.
Yeah.
It says here the deity, the deity as creator. The ancients had numerous figures, always conventional, symbolizing this attribute. Apparently, the most popular were adorned serpents. Many designs of these serpents are found in ancient carvings and literature. 2 of these serpents are especially prominent. One was the cobra, called in the motherland Naga. This one had 7 heads. This number was given to correspond with the 7 stages of creation, the 7 mental planes, etc. The 7-headed serpent originated in Mu and was there called Naga. In various Mu colonies, it received added names. Judging from the geographical position of the colonies where we find it, I think that the lower western half of Mu was where it was used. The people using this symbol were called after it the Nagas. And then if you look right here, like there's a couple illustrations of the 7-headed cobra, and I'd say the Narayana, which is on page 64, down at the bottom right here, that is literally the SLA symbol, at least that the press uses that I've seen in a bunch of different newspapers and stuff, as like, oh, this is the official like SLA symbol. And I mean the flag down to the kind of coiling of the serpent's of the cobra's body is like almost identical to what the final SLA flag. I mean, in a way, it's almost like blacked out on the red flag, so you don't see like the head and the scales and things like that. But in terms of the profile of it, it's like almost identical to the SLA symbol. But in the books I had been reading, nobody pointed this out as like a direct symbol. I think, Schreiber in Revolution's End says that it was given to Sin-Q by Colston Westbrook at Vacaville.
For access to the full-length episode, subscribe to the Hour of Frequency at patreon.com/subliminaljihad.